What is going on, FA Nation? John and Bebe here with James Grande. Welcome to the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Show. Today we're taking a look at the 10-game main slate for Friday. Your guy James will be on the playbook here, so we're taking a first look to break it all down for you. And got some good top-end pitching here for 10 games. Got a couple of interesting mid-tier matchups as well that we're going to be looking to discuss and maybe target, because pitching is usually as your pitching goes, your lineups go here in DFS.
As your pitching goes, your lineups definitely go. It is definitely an interesting slate because the top pitcher is facing the top offense in the league. It's going to be a fun series between the Dodgers and the Yankees. We have an underpriced Framber. We have Chris Bassett. Can he get over the lefty hump? There's a lot of very interesting pitchers. Obviously, being 10 games, there's going to be cheap options that we most likely gravitate to. So it should be a fun slate. I'm already looking at a couple of them right now. So it should be a fun slate that I'm ready to get into.
We'll bring it up on the screen. Let's just get to it then. Your top price starting pitcher today is Yamamoto against the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. That is certainly going to be one for the media to pay attention to, especially given that matchup there and what Yamamoto and the media that surrounds him. You got Lodolo against the Cubs. You got Crochet going up against Boston, which will be an interesting one when we talk about how the Boston numbers against lefties here. Miller against Kansas City is 85. Bassett's 83. Framber against LA at 82, a lefty versus the Angels. And King against the Diamondbacks at 8K.
Yeah, so I understand Yamamoto has, a ceiling. I don't think the ceiling is there, and so I will avoid this spot.
Yeah.
If you're building 150 lineups, you want to throw a couple in, by all means, sprinkle a little bit, right? Get a little sprinkle in to your 150 lineups. But if you're not playing multiple lineups, I don't think Yamamoto is a single entry or 3-max kind of play.
No, the Yankees lineup is just far too
good. It's just too good. I do think Nick Lodolo could be a little bit intriguing. I definitely don't enjoy 6 strikeouts in his 2 starts since returning from the IL. I think that kind of sucks because you're paying $9,600. You need strikeouts. And I understand that there's upside. He has 2 double-digit strikeout games and 8 starts this year.
Yeah.
But it definitely doesn't feel good that he's returned from the IL and hasn't struck anyone out, and including this Cubs team. So I don't love 9,600. Now we get to the portion of the program where there is strikeout upside, and that is Garrett Crochet, who strikes a lot of people out and also has a Boston lineup that strikes out more than anyone against lefties.
By a lot.
It's funny. You have the Mariners by a lot against righties, and you have the Red Sox by a lot by lefties.
Yeah, and those almost are 5 percentage points higher than Seattle. Seattle strikes out against everybody, lefties and righties, but Boston against lefties here, 29% strikeout rate here on the season. Over the last couple of weeks, no different there, 29.8%. So they go up there hacking against their lefties, and they don't do too well against them either.
I mean, you're talking about a guy who in his rookie campaign has 3 double-digit strikeout outings, 2 in his last 5 games, and has 6+ in 4 of his last 5. He has 6+ in 9 of his last 10 starts, essentially, with 3 earned runs over his last 5 total. I mean, this is as good as it's going to get at the pricing.
We assumed he would be the White Sox all-star representative. You and I were having conversations about who would be the all-star representatives, but then I don't know if you saw the White Sox fans in rebellion are writing in Martin Maldonado as their all-star vote for the White Sox, the 070 hitting catcher, currently the leading fan vote getter for the White Sox team here.
My goodness. I'm going to join.
So
I might write him in too.
I'd be wary if Chris Sale takes them on for the National League here, because Maldonado versus lefties. We know the power.
True.
Anyway, so Crochet very clearly should be their lone all-star representative. Smash spot for him. We had that little blip in the middle of the season, and he's figured it out since. His xFIP there is below 3. His ERA, his expected ERA, everything is legit with him there. Then you got Bryce Miller, another guy that can
Yep.
rack the strikeouts. Now, Kansas City is certainly a little bit of a tougher lineup in a sense that you got to get through Salvi, you got to get through Bobby Witt, Michael Garcia, Vinny Pascantino's back. So certainly a tougher potential matchup, and he has looked really good this season as well. And then Bassett, Oakland has a couple of lefties, but nothing I don't think we should be too concerned about here.
Yeah, I mean, Miller is interesting. I don't know if the strikeout appeal that we've seen the last couple starts is there, just considering Kansas City doesn't strike out against right-handed pitching, 17% strikeout rate. Or 19% strikeout rate, sorry. So, it's a tough spot for sure. I probably lean the next couple names, or not skipping over Framber, but Chris Bassett for sure is a little bit interesting. Obviously, not having that good of a season, but to Chris Bassett's, defense, 4 of his last 5 starts, 16 plus fantasy points, 3 earned or less in all of
Actually
those
getting the
starts.
wins,
Getting wins because Toronto's offense has been, 5 plus runs in 4 of his last 5 starts. And the one lone start doesn't get a win, 12 fantasy points was still fine-ish
right.
in that outing. So you have to feel good about the ballpark upgrade too, going to Oakland. So I love that spot. And I do like Michael King. I think Michael King is a really, really, really good pitcher who got off to kind of like a shaky start and has kind of figured it out, especially lately. I mean, 18, 20, 21 fantasy points in 3 straight. And then Colorado, not the best start, but the Dodgers start. I mean, 11 Ks over 7 scoreless is just showing the upside they showed last year for the Yankees in the second half of the year. But the Framber thing is very interesting because Framber is an elite pitcher.
Yes.
But he also
lit
is
up
facing, and he's also facing a team that really, 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 I mean, dude, like the Angels are a bad team. Legit. They're a badly constructed team. The ownership is terrible. Everything about them. They are 3rd in OPS against left-handed pitching.
Yep.
They don't strike out against left-handed pitching. They're 6th in ISO, like they hit for power. It's just one of those situations where, like, again, you can play Framber and the Angels. It's baseball, right? Framber might shut them down.
Hey, Carlos Rodon did it, right? Went out there, shut down the Angels. That's Cortez pitched okay against them. He gave up some runs, but it wasn't, an all Angels parade here. So yeah, some of the better lefties of late, they've certainly either struggled or had so efforts against. But Framber's been good for sure. The Angels just had his number in that one start. Kind of ballooned, obviously, the ERA for Valdez as well there. But I mean, the numbers are just the numbers too. Like that lineup is certainly capable of just locking in against Southpaws. So, it's names you don't expect. They don't have a great name value lineup.
Put some respect on Luis Rengifo, please.
Yeah. You and I, we're fan club members, so founding members of the Rengifo fan club there. What are your thoughts on Michael Lorenzen here? Now, he's a guy that of late has pitched really well. Quality start efforts, decent strikeouts, keeping the runs down. Miami, Minnesota, LA, Cleveland during that stretch. He is also somebody that if you go look at his Fangraphs page, there's some suggestion that maybe there would be some regression possibly coming down his way as well. His 2.96 ERA is met with a 4.35 xFIP. His xERA and FIP are both in that 4.2 to 4.25 range. So, 4 walks per 9, not great, but the Giants offense, again, nothing like spectacular there. Any interest in Michael Lorenzen at 76?
Yeah, I mean, to your point, 18th in OPS against right-handed pitching. No power against righties, 26th in ISO against right-handed pitching. So, sure. No problem getting to Lorenzen at 76. I think it's a pretty good play.
Lance Lynn against Colorado. Any appeal to you there?
Yeah, I think, honestly, like, Lorenzen, Lynn, Steele, probably all, like, kind of in play. Like, I know Steele coming off a bad start, but we said it last night. He was in that Hunter Green rain game, too. Yeah. And he only 1 earned run in a game that he allowed 5 runs, 7 hits. I mean, Justin Steele was super elite. and then
Yeah.
he got hurt, and obviously hasn't had like the start of the year that I think anyone hoped he'd have. But 7,200 for Justin Steele, Litton 74, Lorenzen 76. Honestly, John, also I will throw in Logan Webb into that equation too.
Okay.
I think this is a misprice, kind of based on his start against the Yankees. I mean, this is a guy who doesn't allow home runs. We will have to see if Corey Seager's in the lineup after the hammy pull. I mean, Bruce Bochy basically said, like, we'll give him a couple days. It looks better than initially anticipated. But if there's no Seager in that Texas lineup, I mean, what are we talking about when it comes to like people that we have to worry about with Logan Webb? I mean, Adolis, sure. Simeon, sure. Josh Smith, sure. Doesn't the list kind of just stop there?
Yeah.
And for a guy who doesn't allow home runs, I mean, Adolis really has been all or nothing this year. So maybe I'll even eliminate him. So just throwing it out there, I think Logan Webb in this tier is also another guy I would take a look
at. Okay. Any thoughts on guys below the 7K tier, like Daniel Lynch? We know long term not that great of a pitcher, but gets Seattle. We talked about Seattle against lefties. The second highest strikeout rate. He wasn't awful against Minnesota. He threw 5 shutout against Texas in his first appearance. Just for the sake of the Seattle matchup, would you give Lynch some consideration?
I mean, Seattle does have a little power against left-handed pitching, 11th in ISO. So that'd be the only concern. Sure. Not like totally against it. I think when you start looking at like the group of guys 7K or below, it's basically just him or Logan T. Allen. And I think the Logan Allen thing, also another guy, his price kind of suffering from a Coors Field start that he got absolutely demolished in. I mean, if you look at Logan Allen, the 3 starts prior to Coors, 18, 27, 19 fantasy points in those 3 starts, and then he had to pitch in Coors. And another lefty, Logan Allen, lefty, beat the Angels and struck out 7. So just like pretty tough matchup there and had no problem. So like between Lynch and Allen, that would be like probably my 2 punt plays.
Okay. Let's move on over then to the catcher position here. Again, we generally look to find some of the cheaper value, but we've also highlighted your guy, David Fry, in this matchup against lefties. He's $5,700 now, though.
Yeah, that's
a number and a half.
Criminal. That is criminal.
So I don't know if necessarily we'd go there. Cal Raleigh versus Lynch. If you're not in that matchup, Raleigh does have some power. Jansen has some power against lefties against Harris at 45. So those can be some of your spend up options. If you're looking mid-tier and value plays, last time you and I did a show, we talked Daniel Diaz, and he hasn't not homered since. He has homered in 3 straight games. He is still, in my opinion, way too cheap because he wasn't as bad of a hitter as he had been. We know Griffin Canning's kind of a gas can. More than happy to plug in some Daniel Diaz there at 35.
Word for word what you said last time, and then he went on a 3-game home run streak. So I'm not going to doubt you ever again, John. I'm definitely in on Diaz. Only other name I'd really throw out there is Ivan Herrera against Austin Gomber in the righty-lefty split. Patrick Bailey, if you're not a believer, and Mike Lorenzen Hill in the middle of that lineup. Garver homered on Thursday, so if you wanted to some signs of life out of Mitch Garver, he gets the Daniel.
It's the right split side for Mitch Garver there, so that one works. That's probably it. And again, we'll be back live at 5 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Eastern time, rather, myself and James here to give you all the latest news and updates for these lineup lock decisions. So we'll probably have some official lineups with catchers available to us. Starting next week, though, we'll be going live at 5 p.m. Eastern to give us our chance to have more official lineups set when we give our live stream breakdown, so we can make a little bit of better decisions when it comes to building out our example lineups and breaking down the slate. First base here. Obviously, the Dodgers are in play. Freeman hit a 3-run homer today in the classic Dodger setup of Mookie gets on, Ohtani gets on, 3-run homer, right? Just like the top end of that lineup can do that against anybody. They got Poteet here for the Yankees. Top end guys for you. I mean, where else are you looking to get?
Yeah, top end guys. It's those two, and Poteet's looked good, but obviously there's a reason why he spent a lot of time in the minors. Spencer Steer obviously has the split advantage. He's been pretty good. Was that aided by Coors? A little bit. I mean, he had 5 hits in the 2 games prior to Coors. Obviously, had a really good Coors series. So if you want to play that against Justin Steele, that's fine. Um, Pasquantino and Vladdy would be interesting against Hogan Harris. We saw Vladdy homer again the other day, 2 in his last 4 games, and by the other day I mean Thursday. 2 in his last 4 games. OPS back over 800, just under 300. So I would say Vlad 47,
Okay.
and then like no one over 4K. I would probably get to some Goldschmidt, who I think has looked a little better, 3,900 in the
Okay.
Gomber spot. Hits
I
into
know we
five.
like Steele as like an elite pitcher here, but he obviously hasn't necessarily
No,
pitched
he
up
hasn't.
to that level. So like I don't mind Candelario at 4K, especially
Agreed.
in Cincinnati.
Agreed.
I could get behind that there. Ty France again, not a guy I don't think I've clicked on once this year, but if you don't think Daniel Lynch is anything special, $3,600 for him there.
Ty
Uh,
France. I actually played Ty France last week
how'd that go for you?
in a
The homer?
lefty spot. It was the I don't know if you I played all of the top half of the Mariners lineup, and like Ryan Bliss had like 30 fantasy points,
Sure.
hitting ninth, and I think I essentially I played France because he had good numbers against lefties, and it didn't work out for me because none of the guys that I played did
Sure.
anything. But France against lefties this year, um, 3 home runs, 259 average. So like,
Yeah, he's not a great hitter. It's just if you're looking to stack, I guess that could be a thing. We know Jake Berger's not having a great season, but he does hit home runs, and Logan Allen, the lefty,
yep.
$3,300. Anybody else for you at first base?
Berger's been really good lately,
Sure.
hitting 405 his last 10. No, no.
Yeah.
I guess no. I was gonna say like Garrett Cooper, but we don't need to go there.
No, we're not going to go against Crochet there, I don't think. Second base, then. Altuve, Semien, Jimenez, Marte, your top four there. Obviously, you mentioned before Jimenez good against lefties, gets the weather matchup. Altuve gets Canning there. I don't think we're looking to spend up when Renjifo's there at $4,400, though.
Yeah, I mean, all the roads lead back to Rengifo. I'm definitely interested in Altuve if you can afford a Houston stack, just with how gas canning he's been. But yeah, Renjifo's the play.
Yeah, for sure. Just kind of giving everybody a refresher on the Luis Rengifo stats. If you're not kind of aware of why we've talked him up so much, when you get Rengifo against left-handed pitching on the season, 486 batting average for him there. He's got a 229 ISO, 714 slug, a 530 weighted on base. And these aren't like fluky numbers. The last 3 seasons have been all the same situations for him, just absolutely smashing lefties. One of our favorite plays there, $4,400 can lock that in. Anybody else for you under 4K? Any value plays for you today?
Under 4K. I mean, if we're not thinking Justin Steele is going to turn it around, Jonathan, or at least in the spot, Jonathan India is 3,600. Brendan Rodgers, I know he's away from Coors, but he has been really, really good lately.
Mm-hmm.
Again, away from Coors, I understand, but he's been good. Geloff
I was gonna
has
say
hit a
Gelos then is
couple
kind
home
of interesting,
runs,
right?
couple home runs lately. Yep, couple home runs lately. That could be a thing. And then if you want to play some White Sox, how about some Nicky Lopez? $2,800. He's been pretty good. He's been hitting in front of Luis Robert, like near the top of their lineup lately. I
Yeah.
mean, a little
I was gonna
speed.
I was gonna go the guy above him with IKF.
IKF's also been hit I think game winner on Thursday. And he's been pretty good, pretty consistently good.
So again, a couple guys under $3,000 there. Third base, you have Ramirez versus lefty. We've talked a lot about Jose
Yep.
Ramirez in the elite numbers against left-handed pitching there. Ryan McMahon, we've also highlighted better numbers on the road this year than at home. If Lance Lynn was to ever revert to being the Lance Lynn of old, McMahon would be in a good spot there at 5K. Not going to chase Devers versus a lefty, so not really much else interest in going up there. We got Vladdy with third base eligibility here.
Yeah, he played third. I think this past weekend.
Yeah, so just a little surprised to see them lock in the dual positional eligibility there, but you got it if you want to play it. Where else are you looking at here at third base?
Thankfully, we could play Rengifo.
Yep.
I think Dylan Moore, someone that we didn't mention at second, he's in a really big slump, but he does hit lefties well, and he's been hitting near top of the lineup. So 4K for Dylan Moore. Arenado, I expect to be somewhat popular, just given his history against left-handed pitching and his history against Colorado in general.
And the price,
and the price. So I expect a lot of ownership going Arenado's way. I just don't think that there's anything else that we need to.
Sure. Yeah, you can play Burger down here too if you wanted to value, like you mentioned. IKF's over here, dual position eligibility. So a lot of guys we've talked about with the dual positional eligibility there for third base. Shortstop got Witt. Mookie Betts just homered as we are recording, so maybe that's a thing to start him going. Ellie homered today as well, $5,800. If you're looking to spend up, obviously there's some pretty clear options up at the top.
Yes, pretty clear options at the top. You can always play Witt, 2 stolen bases. You can always play Mookie. We've been crapping on him for a couple of podcasts, and he said, "No more. Home run." Ellie, been crapping on him. Nope, no more home run. This is obviously though Ellie against left-handed pitching. Not exactly.
I agree. But he's much better from the left side of the plate for himself. So mid-tier, Bichette versus Harris at 41. Pena's 4K against Canning. Both of those guys are fine. For me in those matchups, I still don't mind Swanson, even though Lodolo, we like as a talent, as you mentioned, hasn't really been elite since coming back. Mason Wynn versus a lefty at 32 is pretty exciting. And then Zach Nato at 3K also versus a lefty. Pretty exciting.
Yeah, I feel like this is pretty easy, right? We saw Wynn back in the lineup. He had that little back injury leading off on Thursday. If he's going to lead off again at 3,200, I mean, that's like your plug and play of the slate. And if you don't want to play him and you want something probably less chalky than Mason Wynn at 32, hey, here's Zach Nato at $3,000, and all he does is hit lefties. So I think you're either spending all the way up or you're spending all the way down, because Bichette, Pena, all that mid-tier stuff is just.
Yeah, NATO's another one, as we mentioned. Just wild splits this year against left-handed pitching. Obviously smaller sample sizes at times with some of these guys here, but on the year, 459 against left-handed pitching, 620 slug, 477 weighted on base. I mean, numbers you wouldn't expect when you think Zach Nato, but he's got it going on against lefties. Outfielders, Otani, Judge, Soto, pick your poison, plug him in, perfectly fine going there. Alvarez at 53 as well, looking pretty strong against Canning.
Yeah, I mean, even in games where Judge and Soto aren't hitting, they're they have 4 walks combined. They're 3 innings. It's just they're constantly on the base paths, constantly scoring runs. No problems getting to really any of them. David Fry 57 is just.
Yeah, I can't find myself getting to Fry as a one-off play. He'd have to be in a orchestrated stack with Ramirez there.
What do we got for the Criswell splits? That's interesting. Righties hitting Cooper Criswell pretty hard this year. 280 average, 820 OPS. Obviously, I'm looking at Luis Robert in that instance, 5,200. It's a good ballpark to hit in. Obviously, good matchup with the righties. I mean, I know Robert's been dominant against lefties, but he also hits against everyone and can steal bases against anyone.
Right.
And has the righty split. So I would say, for as kind of as piss poor as Julio Rodriguez has been, another guy, he has elite splits against lefties. We were talking about where are the here? Against lefties this year, 344 average for Julio. So
yeah, he's starting to come around, right? So
yeah, starting to come around as well.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Under 5K, what are we looking at here? Tyler O'Neill against Crochet, and probably not going to target that matchup. Ward's 46.
Yep.
Conforto's not terrible against Lorenzen at 44.
Lar 43.
Yeah, Pilar at 43 is pretty good.
Blackman, if you're playing Rockies against Lance Lynn, he's been good lately, leading off still. You'll get him in the leadoff spot. You'll get Jock in his split advantage. He'll probably hit third. So he hit on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Ian Happ's been really, 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 really good of late. You mentioned like as good as Lodolo can be. Hasn't necessarily been that good.
Freeman, obviously, we'd have to see if he gets in the lineup or not, but he does get a lefty. We've talked about him in the past.
Yep.
Oakland guys that are from the left side, but they will hit from the left side against Bassett, obviously. He's 36. Springer, 36.
Yep.
Not awful. Jackson Merrill against Fott there. Let's see. What else do we have for some value? Not a ton, honestly, down here that I'm like in love with.
Julio Ramos has obviously been pretty incredible lately.
Yeah.
I don't know how sustainable it is, but because he looks like he's 48.
I saw him get picked up in our fantasy league that we're in together, and I was like, "What? This guy's worthy of a roster spot?"
I mean, he's been pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I don't know if that continues here. If you are against Daniel Lynch, like Mitch Haniger, I know he's been like corpse of Mitch Haniger, but he has a long history of hitting lefties. I think that'd be okay. If you're like just solely based on like I'm gonna play Mariners today and I don't care who knows it.
Yeah,
I think Mitch Haniger is.
Jason Hayward's been on another one.
He has
here, 2,900,
1,200 OPS for Jason.
Yeah,
Hayward.
I mean you get that when you go 3 for 3, right? With the home run. So some better numbers for him lately. Brown hits from the left side at 28, but that's probably it. Let's get a lineup built. See where we want to go with today's slate. We weren't spending up. Well, what's your number one plug here today?
Probably Crochet. That's probably the guy.
Crochet and who?
This is where I think you and I like had some differences, and like I don't know. If we want to stick in the 8K tier, obviously that's fine. If we want to go down to the 7K tier,
I was looking at Lorenzen.
Yeah, we could play Lorenzen. That's fine.
Catcher,
I think one of those pitchers.
Go Yanier Diaz there. Catcher, second base. We'll plug in Rengifo.
Play Win at short.
Okay. Do you want Win or Nato? Win probably. He's leading off. You're right.
Nato, I think Win is probably the spot. Like Win Arenado, Goldie is like a really cheap way to get like anything we want in the outfield. Probably.
Sure. Is that what we're running? We're running out the same.
Right. I mean, we don't have to. I was just suggest like.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't really know what else to like. You could spend up for Ramirez here. I guess would be like the.
Like Gomber's been good for what it's worth. He's been better this year. So if we wanted to not play them,
if we did that, we'd have 3 5K outfielders. So we could fit in Ohtani here. I guess 241. Ohtani and Yankee Stadium, right? You got to get that. What was do we have a value outfielder that we were in on here?
Freeman, if he played, or what's our boy Julio Ramos, but we're using Lorenzen, Haniger 32.
Let's see. Did we have scrolling through these names here? Let's see.
Jay Hay 29.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. And that gives us a $5,400 outfielder. Go Jordan against Canning?
Yeah, I would say between Jordan or yeah.
All right, ties in with Yanier Diaz there a little bit. So example lineup for everybody: Crochet, Lorenzen, Diaz, Goldschmidt, Rengifo, Arenado, Win, Ohtani, Hayward, Alvarez. Gives ourselves a little Houston, LA, St. Louis stack for everybody with Crochet and Lorenzen. With the lineup built around it. Again, James will be on the playbook. We'll be back live at 4 p.m. Eastern time, everybody. Until then, good luck, and we'll catch you later.